Hi, so I just wanted to do a quick demonstration about how it would feel, how it would look and feel to use the Azure Information Protection. So what I've done is I'm just going to show you in our system and how we've set it up. But I can use a generic example just so you see how the labels are enforced. What I'll do then is I'll just type something in here. So I'm going to type financial information. I'm not going to actually put any financial information in there, but just if you imagine, for example, that that's a key piece of company financial information, such as a salary or somebody's medical records or something like that. It doesn't have to be that. It could be anything that's sensitive to your company because these are your labels at the end of the day. So it could be key technical documents or something along those lines. So what I'm going to do is I've got this document, and if I try and save, it'll prompt me to apply a label. So for this, I'm going to go confidential financial because that's one of the labels that we've created. Click OK. And as you can see, it's applied that label to this document. So if you go view permissions, so as you can see here, this is a list of permissions that are applied to the document. What you'll notice is we haven't actually restricted by any of these permissions here. You can do that, but we've actually just chose to restrict by individual using the individual email addresses. And the ways that you can restrict who does and doesn't see the document, I've provided how you do that a little bit further on in the blog. So yeah, we've restricted by individual, but what you can do is apply these permission labels. And below the video in the blog, when you go back to the blog, what you'll find is I've linked you to a document that essentially outlines what each of these permissions means and what controls it puts in place around the document. So just click OK to that. What I wanted to show you now is just how that looks in an email. So same sort of setup, you've got your labels at the top. And so if I send this to somebody in our organization, and I'll put test. So if I just put a test again and I go to send that, what it'll do again, as it did with the document, it will force you to apply a label. So the key thing to reiterate here is that there will not be a document or an email that leaves your organization or is stored in your organization without a label, which is a really important aspect of a really important point of what we're trying to get across here. But I won't send it for now because what I want to do is I want to attach the recent document that I've just created, and what you'll see is the email is defaulted to the level of confidentiality applied to the document. So you cannot, so if I created an email and set the email to public, but I attached a confidential document, the email would default to confidential just to add that layer of protection. And then when I hit send, I won't be able to show you this in the demonstration, unfortunately, but Tom, who will have access to this because he's one of our directors, but if I sent it to somebody external to the organisation, they would get a big red flag saying essentially you don't have access to this document. So just before I finish, a key message that I wanted to leave you with is essentially just the difference between Azure Information Protection and other document protection pieces of software, because there's a big difference. Azure Information Protection isn't network based, it's essentially document based. So what I mean by that is when you apply a label, the permissions for that label are embedded in the document. So they stay with the document or the email no matter where that document or email lands in the world. And essentially what will happen is when an individual tries to access the protected document, if the document's online, it will check the credentials of the person trying to access the document against the credentials that are authorized to access the document, whether that's domain or individual email address or a group of some description. And if the credentials don't match, that individual will always be restricted from accessing that document. And if the document's offline, just access will be restricted just universally. So you're covered in all scenarios, and yeah, that's a key difference. But anyway, thanks for watching the video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the blog.